let's begin with the Sunday night game where the Bills kind of destroyed the Steelers. Kind of destroyed them. Now, look, it was a 7-3 ball game, and then Big Ben throws a pick six. And then to start the second half, the Bills get the ball, march down the field, hit Stephon Diggs for a touchdown, and suddenly you start to go like, oh, wait, this could get out of hand in a hurry. Bills get the ball back, and again, Stephon Diggs starts matriculating the ball down the football field. And the next thing you know, they hit pay dirt, and the game feels like it's over, and it really was. And so, look, Cowherd is smoking cigars on Instagram, doing the self-pats on the back. And when you're right, you're right. And where Colin was right, the Buffalo Bills were better last night than the Steelers. And the Steelers, I'm not going to call them paper tigers, but not nearly as good as their record as the last undefeated team would tell you. Big Ben did look every bit late 30s, coming off an elbow. For a guy who has lived and played in cold weather his entire NFL career, he just looked uncomfortable last night. It's only his second multi-interception game of the season. Let's not act like we canceled the season. But here's what we should basically tell you. Okay? The Steelers aren't as good as they were 2 weeks ago, but it's not simply because they've lost those two games or because they didn't have their running back. Losing Bud Dupree changes you. It does. It allows TJ Watt to get double teamed. It's a lot like the Ryan Shazier injury of a couple years ago. And what was a dynamic defense suddenly seems a bit average. The running game is non-existent, 47 yards rushing. Since week 7, the Steelers have rushed for over 100 yards only one time. That against the helpless, hopeless Jacksonville Jaguars. During the same span, they have rushed for less than 50 yards 5 times. They can't run it, and their young wide receivers don't always catch it, and Big Ben doesn't always put it where it needs to be put. Outside of that, their offense is awesome. I look at the Steelers much like I look at many married couples. Right? When you first get married or when you're planning on getting married, everything is great. It just is. It's awesome. Just experiencing new things with another human being, learning about their stories and their life. If you do it right out of college like I did, or you do it kind of later, a little bit later on in life, guys in their 40s, in their 30s, whatever. There's different times for different people, and the honeymoon phase is awesome. But at some point, if you haven't tackled those kind of real life issues, they're going to come to roost. Have you discussed religion? Like, how you going to raise your kid? Well, we'll just figure it out. Like, nah. You'd be amazed at the differences, not just in your own expectations for religion, but especially your parents' expectation. And you can say, like, look, my mom and dad, they don't speak for me. But true, okay? But the grandparents are very much, like, who's the first call when she's mad at you? The girlfriend or the mom? That's what they do, right? So, I mean, how you coach your kid in a sporting event, how many kids you have, what's the religious aspect, what do you do on a Sunday afternoon, right? Did they grow up in a sports household or not? Because if you're listening to the show, you're probably a pretty big sports fan, right? And what do you do on a Saturday and a Sunday if you're not around your kids playing sports? Watching football on TV. Are you not? Well, did her dad? Does she expect you to go and work on a car or work on the garage or do something else or clean up or a bunch of honeydews? Right? Like, that's basically the reason the NFL starts at 1 o'clock on the East Coast. So guys go like, all right, you got till noon, then the pregame show goes on. Harder in the West Coast. The honeymoon phase is over for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now we get to the fact that they haven't been the same since they lost Le'Veon Bell as a running back. They haven't been the same since they lost Antonio Brown as a wide receiver. And they're not going to be the same with Big Ben Roethlisberger late in his 30s coming off of elbow surgery. They haven't been the same this year since they lost Bud Dupree, and they probably haven't been the same in terms of defensive leadership since they lost Ryan Shazier. None of these things mean they can't win a Super Bowl. It's just the real life aspect of where they are now is different than that honeymoon phase. Here's Ben Roethlisberger.
If I don't play good enough football, then I need to hang it up. But, I still feel like I can do enough things to help this team win football games, and I'm going to do everything I can to get us back on track.
That's just a weird statement to make, right? Right? There are three things you can depend upon this year and every year, this time of year: death, taxes, Ben Roethlisberger talking about retirement. It doesn't mean the Steelers can't win the whole thing. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get the number one seed. It just means that now the reality is they're probably going to have to play all 16 games and not be able to take time off. They are limited, or they are more limited defensively because of the injury to Bud Dupree. They're more limited offensively, not just because of their lack of running game and health of their offensive line, but also because Ben can't do so many of the things he used to be able to do. And those wide receivers haven't done it at this high level, and they seem to be struggling at times to hold on to the football. Let's not act like this is going to be a divorce or it's going to be a disaster, but there is a certain reality to who the Steelers really are. And that's when the honeymoon phase is over. So Jalen Hurts completed 57% of his passes, 56% of his passes, 167 yards passing, 5.5 yards per attempt, threw for a touchdown. He also rushed for 106 yards. And we're going to do the thing. He's going to start this week against the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to do the thing where, you're wrong about Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. You're wrong about Jalen Hurts. And, okay. Look, I'm not saying that it wasn't great that a guy who many people thought, myself included, he's not a long-term starting quarterback in the NFL, won a game for a team that just needed to win a game. Eagles just needed to win a game, and they found a way to win. And the Saints are a good team. So in no way am I diminishing the Saints. And he ran for 106 yards, and that's against a great run defense. Well, yeah, they're designed to stop a traditional running game and traditional passing game, which it is not. And look, even the touchdown pass, the back shoulder throw on 4th and 2. Keep in mind, they went for it on 4th and 2 all the time, which their head coach does. But they basically ran a college offense, which we've seen work a million times over in short doses. And if you think 56% completion percentage is going to do it, 167 yards passing is going to do it, you're mistaken. They made the reads clean and simple, and if you didn't like what you read, then you run the football. That's what Oklahoma had him do. And it was effective yesterday. No one's saying it wasn't effective. No one's saying that Jalen Hurts is not good in that style. The problem remains that style doesn't work long-term once people see it on tape. Lamar and the Ravens play the Browns today. Lamar is the best we have ever seen in the National Football League at whatever you want to term Greg Roman's read, option, et cetera style. Dual threat quarterback style, but where you're as much of a runner as you are a thrower. Like all of those things. Like it's like we want so badly to prove our argument that we won't admit that how many times did they go for it on 4th down, which is why do you have to go for it on 4th down? Because you didn't actually get it on 3rd down, which is the most important down in the NFL, right? Quarterbacks get paid for completing passes on 3rd down. That's what they get paid for. Ask anybody. That's what they get paid for. And that style of offense, once teams see it, adjust to it, becomes increasingly difficult once you get past 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7. It just is. So, did it help their running game? Of course. When you're going to run the football that much, even the weakest of offensive linemen, that's what they like to do. That's what they do best. Did they win the game? Sure. And did it give them some breathing room to but we didn't learn anything about Jalen Hurts long term. Long term, that's not what the Eagles want to run offensively. And I think we all know how this ends. That the problem is, does it end with the peaceful transition back to Carson Wentz? Right? There's a lot of parallels there, right? Is there a peaceful transition back? Because yes, Jalen Hurts is gonna start. He was gonna start for more than one game anyway, right? They weren't just gonna go, hey, Carson, sit for one game and then you're back in. Like, no, he's got a lot of work to do. But look at the other side of the ball. Like here's what's crazy. The same people that are like, Taysom Hill can't be a long-term answer at quarterback for the Saints are the same people trying to tell you Jalen Hurts is the answer for the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. All right. Sure. All right. Okay. It's a good win. It definitely counts. It hurts the Saints as they're now 10-3, and they have a lesser percentage chance of getting the number one seed in the playoffs. Plus, they lost to the Packers, who they're tied with record-wise. Like, all of these things are real. And Jalen Hurts did win a game. He did. But this is do you guys remember, is this too dated a reference, Ramos? The banana in the tailpipe? When you go, fall, there's no banana in the tailpipe. Or it's not on network TV anymore because Apple bought it, but Charlie Brown pulling the football out from Lucy. Like, how many times are we going to fall for the same thing? Like, oh, this guy could be the answer. Okay. RG3, Vince Young, Tim Tebow. Right? And I keep going on. Not going to. Lamar is the best. The best at it. The best we've ever seen. And an offense that gave him the MVP last year. Couldn't win a playoff game. Either 2 years. And this year has become more and more of an issue. And he's the best at it. There's a reason that even Alabama had to make a change. No matter how good Nick Saban was, he didn't think he could win it all with Jalen Hurts. Just didn't. And to a certain extent, that's what the Eagles will find. It was great for their energy, great for their mojo. The problem with it now is, in that locker room, is there some ill-fated belief that Jalen could be the long-term solution when you can't play that way long-term? People figure it out. Quarterbacks get hurt. Running backs, wide receivers get ticked because they don't get enough balls. It just is not a long-term deal.